You know, it says a lot to me if I ask someone to come on my podcast and they say I can't be on camera. Like, I understand people, but like, if you're so fake that you can't talk to me on camera or on, like, that says a lot, don't it?
I would think so. You're definitely not okay security-wise to be on camera. You have some...
Like, that says everything. If I tell you I can only talk in certain...
Some people just can't do it.
Yeah, but...
But
do you see what I'm saying, though?
It's like I was telling Damon today on the bus. I says, you got to look at that camera that's in front of you like you're talking to somebody.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to a camera. I'm talking to an individual who's standing in front of me and just having a conversation with the fucking camera. All right, I'm ready.
It's kind of flaky to me, though, to say that someone can't talk to me.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. All right, so I'm ready to go. Like I said, just share it over to my page when you go live. That way I can...
If I tag you, it does that, right?
Right, and then that way I can forward it on to, share it onto my Recovery Atheist page.
Yep.
And then I can see what we're doing, how it looks.
So I'm going to tag you, and it should do that then.
It should, yeah.
Tag all my friends, a few of my friends for this one. Our opinions and our perceptions are fallible.
If you could turn it my way just a hair. Get the mic in. Yeah, there you go. That should be good. Perfect. Yeah, that works right there. That's good.
Well. We are LIVE here at the Weirman Media Studios. Once again, you know, that's what we stay doing here at the Weirman Media Studios. It's Sunday. It's 5:45 p.m. The Twins just won.
Woohoo! Go Twins, go, baby.
And
Twinkies!
And we're thinking of you at the Weirman Media Studios. How many of those Fortune 5,000 companies and those Fortune 500 companies that have $1 million budgets are sitting in their office on Sunday trying to bring you value? I don't know. I don't see very many of them doing it. So all these companies that you give your money to and your time and your energy and you're buying stuff from, how many of them are bringing you value freely on a Sunday? So ultimately, I'm sitting here thinking of you guys and what might bring you value. And one of the things I wanted to do, Dell had an idea for me to pick an episode, and I said, okay, I came up with what idea and what concept, Dell?
Well, what we're going to go with today is we're going to go with opinions and perceptions and how they can be fallible. In other words, how they could be possibly wrong.
Or erroneous.
Or, yeah.
100%.
Not every one of our opinions and our perceptions of things can be right. Sometimes they can be what they call like a cognitive distortion, where we see something. I'll give an example of that. You are walking into a dentist office and there's two women sitting down in the chair talking to each other.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks everybody. And they look over at you because it's just human nature when someone walks in the door is to look over at them walking in the door, right? So you walk in through the door, these two women are talking. They look over at you, go back to their conversation and start laughing. In your mind, your perception is they're laughing at you. When the truth is they're probably laughing at the conversation they were having before you even walked in the door. That is a perception that is distorted and is fallible. That is something where it's wrong.
So here's the thing why I wanted to lean into this, because you hear me and you guys see me and hear me talk so much passionately and I come across a certain way, but guess what? I am just as willing to change in the snap of a finger. If someone comes at me with something and it has some valid reasoning or valid concepts and it's scientific, in a snap of a finger, I'll be like, oh, that makes sense. Let's hop into that and let's merge with that. I am the kind of person that is very passionate in what I do and what I believe in. So yes, I'm going to come across like I believe like what I'm saying is true, but aren't we supposed to be passionate and supposed to believe in what we believe in? Like, why would I only believe in 10% of what I believe in? I'm the kind of person that if I believe in it, I believe in it. And if I don't, I don't. And I'm open to learning new things. But ultimately, I think it's interesting to lean into this and understand that things are constantly being proven wrong. Whether it's science or math or whatever, we're constantly learning new things and we're proving old ideas or old concepts or whatever wrong. So I think it's really interesting to be aware of this, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I'm one that comes across like I know everything. So I wanted to lean into the idea that everything can be proven wrong, and my perceptions
know it all.
My perceptions are totally fallible and they can totally be proven wrong and erroneous. but I just come across very confident and very very cocky because I believe in them. Like, I'm passionate. Like, I just think that's how everyone should be.
Well, I'm going to say this. I have a feeling you probably get the same have the same effect on people, but I get it all the time because I'm very passionate. I get it all the time that I'm aggressive.
So me and my brother just talked about this the other day. The interesting
I knew you
thing,
were going to go there.
the thing that's interesting about this is when you look at the definition, actually, it's actually a definition of how I am. It is the definition of assertive. It's a forceful, confident personality. So my brother always likes to lead into aggressive, and I think aggressive sounds negative because if you look at the definition, aggressive is to do harm and hurt and be forceful with someone. And I don't think
the number one definition.
And I think the difference is drastic because I'm here behind a microphone talking about ideas and concepts that are about evolution and bringing people together and about more love. Like, I'm not here trying to shoot and assault people with a pistol.
You want a better word?
But you get what I'm saying. So I think assertive. I think I'm
there. You go.
Assertive.
Yeah,
exactly.
Assertive. That's where I was going to go.
And let's pull up the definition on it. Like, it's the word for word of what you're talking about, Dylan.
Right.
When my brother brought it up the other day, he was talking about aggression.
Yeah,
like,
we talked about it at the house.
You saw it, right?
Yeah, I saw the whole. When you were talking to him about
having or showing a confident and forceful personality is the definition of assertive. To me, that would be the definition of how I come across.
Well, see, when I was in treatment just recently, that's what they were teaching me is to get away from being aggressive with my communication skills and get assertive. Because there is a difference. My aggression that comes across as being intimidating, forceful,
hostile or violent behavior,
controlling. The only thing that's in that is there's another definition that he had in there where it talks about just being very passionate about a certain goal or something that you're
right here, forceful and sometimes overly assertive pursuit of one's aims and interests.
But it's by having it be said forceful and overly, that means that it's too much.
Yep.
There's too much of it. So assertive is definitely a better way to define what this passion that you and I have. We're assertive in our goals and what we're trying to achieve.
And it is dependent on how people interpret it, right? I mean, ultimately, someone can call me aggressive. I'm not going to get insulted, but I personally would like to look at it more like assertive. If you talk about my aggressive side, you're going to talk about me fist fighting and like let's get real about it. Aggressive to me is violence and hostile and aggressive and like, to me, sitting behind a microphone and talking about dialogue that's about unity and coming together and sharing our stories and more love is nowhere near aggressive, at least in my background.
Yeah, I mean, when I hear aggressive, when someone says I'm getting aggressive, yeah, it feels more physical.
And we talked about that before, Del. Remember the barrier of crossing the line of physical?
Right. I feel like if someone's going to get aggressive with me, then it's a forceful way of trying to make me being controlled into the way they want me to be. When they're being assertive with me, what that means to me is that they're working toward a passion that they're going for, hoping to get me on board with them to be assertive and passionate about the same thing.
But not physically
but
enforcing
not
anything.
in an aggressive, forcible way to where, like, okay, fine, if you're not going to be as passionate about it as I am, I'm going to continue to be assertive in the way I need to, but I'm not going to threaten you or make you feel like you're going to be violated or intimidated.
But here's the thing, the most successful leaders in the world are actually usually candid, assertive, aggressive, and forceful personalities. You look at all the leaders in the history of the world, and they tend to be pretty assertive, aggressive, and pretty forceful and direct and candid with their language and their agenda and their platform.
Right.
So it's interesting when you look at that, because to me, some of the people I look to, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Joe Rogan, it's interesting how successful they are, and they're very candid and very authentic and aggressive. Like my brother said, Joe Rogan's not aggressive in his dialogue anymore. Sorry to say, buddy. Look at Joe Rogan's podcast. He has countless podcasts where it gets incredibly heated.
He's just... Okay, this is where the difference lies.
But he gets incredibly heated.
Well, and I agree with you completely, but this is where the difference lies in that is people who are assertive that are good at it. That's the key. The ones that are good at being assertive know when to do it and when to not.
They
have right timing for it. And when you look at like Joe Rogan and his situation, he will call you out on your bullshit if it's needing to be called out in the right moment. If it's not, then he'll sit back and let you pretty much dig your own grave with it. There has been a couple times, we were watching a thing about it today, where he was out of line, where he called them a dumb shit and stuff like that.
Let's face it, there's going to be times where that happens.
We're human.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he calls it, and how he goes after that person with assertiveness is he hits them with the facts. He hits them with what's true and what's real there, and makes them have to come up with the way to disprove what he is saying. So they're the ones that make themselves look stupid without him having to do it.
So here's the thing I think that's interesting about all this, is that everything's fallible, is the fact that everything can be proven wrong. So like, even though no matter how confident I come across, no matter how cocky or aggressive I come across, like where I am today at 28 has evolved from where I was at 19 and where I was at 23 and 25 and 27 and 28. My perceptions and my beliefs are evolving, and they have actually gotten even more, they've improved even more over the last 30 to 60 days because of all the dialogue. So I think it's interesting, and I think there's a correlation between dialogue and diversity and who you surround yourself with, and the growth and evolution of our perceptions and our realities. Because for me, over the last 30 to 60 days, I've had a complete growth and evolution where I'm starting to become a lot more open-minded and auditing all my beliefs and ideas, and then I'm helping round them out, and I'm looking at all of them and like contextually analyzing them. And since we've had all this dialogue, it really helps me with that, because I'm constantly having to look at my beliefs and my perceptions and my ideologies and be like, okay, let's see, Dell brought this up, Isaac brought this up, let's see, Bob Monahan brought this up, this makes sense, okay, I was wrong here, let's improve this, and then it's all improving me. It's super interesting. And now I feel like a much better platform and like structure for my beliefs.
Well, and you look at it like for me in my situation over the last few months, it has gone, I've seen the change go from being aggressive to now I'm assertive. I'm not forcibly trying to control a situation, but if I see an angle that I can take in a positive way to better myself and to make myself be a better person and grow, then I'm going to be assertive, and I'm going to take that avenue, and I'm going to do what I need to do that. And that's what I've done in the last month, a little over a month of being here with you at the studio here, is I'm going to be assertive. I'm going to grow. Okay, and that's something that hasn't happened. I mean, the last 5-6 years, there has been no growth. It has been a decay. And so today, my life is about, I'm not wasting any more time. I'm 44 years old. I turned 45 coming up in January. I don't really have any more time, in my opinion, to waste on just spinning my wheels, in mud. It ain't going to happen anymore. I have to be assertive. If I'm going to enjoy my life and have happiness and joy, I have to be assertive, and I have to go out and take risks, go after the things I want to go after, the things that will fulfill me and help me enjoy my life. So, yeah, so let's get back to it. Opinions, perceptions, there's tons of them out there everywhere, right, people? Right, Podcast Nation?
100%.
We have tons of opinions about the presidential campaign. We've got tons of opinions and perceptions
about socks,
about COVID,
underwear.
We've got all the way down to
hats.
Yeah,
whatever.
The right type of energy drink.
The right type, the right amount of excitement and passion. The right amount.
How much is too much? I mean,
how little is too little.
Everyone's got opinions. What's that old line? Opinions are
like
just like assholes. Everyone's got one. We all live in life with opinions. But what do we do when we have an opinion and maybe somebody calls us on it, and we actually are open-minded and look at it and go, you know what, that opinion is wrong. That perception is wrong. What are we doing? Well, first off, we're human. We should be able to forgive ourselves for that and find a way to be able to change that perception. But what are we going to do in that? Are we going to continue to stay strong? I know I'm the recovery atheist. I say this about...
Thanks, Jimmy. We love you, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jimmy. I say this about the Christians, is that, a lot of them will not change their perception. Even if it's shown them, like, in broad daylight where they're wrong on it, they won't change it. Well, that kind of stuff is not going to work to help you grow, to help you change, to be the person that you could have at your full potential.
So here's exactly what you're getting at, and I believe in 100%. Diverse dialogue leads to the proving of fallible concepts. So this is what I'm getting at, is having diverse dialogue from people with different perspectives and viewpoints and ideologies and backgrounds, and having diverse dialogue, so then you have those diverse personalities and experiences having dialogue on important topics, ideas, and concepts. You then are auditing all these different experiences, insights, and perspectives that then leads to the disproving of fallible concepts. So concepts that are wrong, or are erroneous, or are they're off. So in my opinion, that is the direct result that has led me, since we started this show, to start auditing my own. Now I'm starting to connect even more dots and be more aware and eliminate my fallible concepts that I do believe in or have believed in, because I'm surrounding myself with people that are pushing me to challenge my concepts, because we're talking about my concepts and their concepts and perspectives and their beliefs. And by doing so, that diverse dialogue that we're having drives us to force ourselves to audit the fallible concepts and prove them wrong, because we're cognitively aware now, and we're conceptualizing these ideas and these beliefs and these concepts, and we're challenging them. And by doing that, we're forcing ourselves to grow. Because for me, now I'm auditing my fallible beliefs and proving them wrong, because the people around me are helping me do that, and the dialogue on a daily basis is having me force me to do that.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying?
No,
that's
completely.
super smooth, and I couldn't believe it. It's only been a little over 30 days, and I'm like, wow, this shit is addicting. And once you do it, you see how valuable open dialogue is. And besides Joe Rogan's podcast, there is not many places in the world where there is true open dialogue taking place, where it's just neutral, open dialogue, perspectives and opinions and beliefs being audited, shared in an authentic, powerful fashion. And I think that's why Joe Rogan does so well. It's just he has a lot of these characteristics, these little very important characteristics going for him.
Yes, definitely. And I just had a thing come into my head.
Good. See, look at that. This is what we're talking about.
So I look at it, and I'm challenging people out there in the nation, in the podcast nation, with a little bit.
And us, and me.
And you, and me, and an experiment, because I'm going to do this experiment with you. I've got a couple different ideas. One, take one perception that you have, just one, about the world, whatever it is, and challenge it. See if there's a different way that you can look at it and how it could apply in your life. And the second one is, and I think this is a big one, this is one that's going to really hit me home, especially in my living situation. Take one perception of a person that you know and look for a different way to perceive them, to look at them. See them from a different angle and see if it changes your feelings, your perceptions of who that person is, and maybe gives you a better understanding of why they are who they are.
That's a great idea, man.
I mean, and I'm going to do it this week. I'm gonna take a look at it this week and see, because I know there's somebody out there. I'm just going to be honest, because that's what we do here. We bring authenticity to this platform. I know for a fact there's somebody out there that my perception of them is that they're worthless, or somebody I don't need to waste my time with. They're not worth my time, and I bet I'm wrong. I bet I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I can guarantee it.
I think that's a great point, Del, and you're shining the light on and connecting it to. I think that's a great idea for me to do, and us all, because judgmental people is a large part of what we do in America. We're judgmental folks, and I am as well. Especially when I grew up on the streets, you force yourselves to. Like, when you grow up on the streets, you have to start to negative bias everything. You start to have to
trust issues.
Yeah, because you have to look for the threat. When you grow up on the streets, it's unfortunate, but when you live on the streets, you start to see all the most ugly things, but also a lot of beauty. So like when I was on the streets in Hawaii, I saw massive manipulation of vulnerable people, but then I also saw people that were amazing to vulnerable people and offered me to live in their house, but I also had someone try and traffic me for produce babies to traffic. So like I've seen doctors. Man, that guy was a pig. His name's Daniel Susat. He literally was trafficking babies in Honolulu. He was taking and fabricating them, mixing people's breeds. Like, say he wanted to mix me with an Indian woman, and he offered me $20,000 to have a baby. If I would have had the baby with him, he would have gave me 20 G's. But I would have had to have sold my own child.
So we had like a Dr. Mendele going on, like a German Nazi.
There's actually a
stuff.
There's actually a 2020 program on it.
Really?
Daniel Susat, his name is. Yes.
Not a good
I was
thing.
living there and I had to leave because I was like, man, I can't be around this guy. I was like, this is disgusting. He was trafficking babies. So yeah, so you see these things and it's like, holy balls, this is no joke. But yeah, so for me, it's like judging others, and I myself have tried to get better at it, and I feel like I have gotten better, but I still struggle with it because of my background. I'm always looking for a threat, And as humans, we're naturally looking for that because that's a species. What we do, we look for something that threats our well-being or our existence, and we eliminate it. So that's what I think you're talking about in a way, is judgments and perceptions of things or people around us. And I think that's really a great exercise, and that's a great idea. So challenging, what was it? Challenge. It was a person.
Yeah, challenge one perception you have, just one thought or opinion about the state of the world, the state of your job, the state of your home life, whatever it is, and see if your perception on it is correct. See if there's a different way of looking at it. And then take one person in your life, and what I mean by perception, that judgment, like you said. There's people out there I know that I look at, and I've already made a prejudgment probably from a very small sample.
Yeah.
Of who they are, and my perception is, okay, so they must be this way.
Exactly.
And I haven't given it enough time or enough research into it to look at them from a different side, a different angle, a different perception, to see if maybe I'm wrong with that there is something there that is better than what I'm giving them credit for. So when you look at the perception definition, it's the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through the senses. It's a way of regarding, understanding, or interpreting something, a mental impression about something, about someone, something, some issue. The thing is that mental impression, that's where it can get distorted. It can come from experiences. You can be conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
That mental impression that you're having is from an past experience that you've had, and so right away, again, trust issues, right away you automatically label that person because of that former mental impression, perception of the situation, and that might not be what's happening at all.
Yeah, what you're talking about is so crucial. You touched on a lot of key characteristics, but number one, especially in business, if you ever get in business, what Dell just talked about is essential. It's earning trust. That's why what we do at Weirman Media is we're trying to help business owners or entrepreneurs understand that. And relationships are the most valuable asset in life, period. We are all interdependent on other humans, whether we want to accept it or not. Whether you want to accept it or not, whether you sign a big contract for a car deal or a home building contract, a lot of it comes back to relationships you have with people. Like if someone you know just so happens to want to sign up and they have a big contract deal with the union, and the next thing you know, they signed up for your business to build the houses. It's all, if you look at almost everything in life, it comes back to relationships. So relationships are the core of all of our success, and they're the core of every business, relationships. So trust is the essential characteristic for everyone in business. You need to develop trust and brand awareness, and trust is built through being vulnerable and authentic. And Dell just talked about judging people and challenging ourselves to be more open-minded and empathetic and not judge others. And I think that's a really key point in any relationship, whether it's business or life. We need to be open-minded and more empathetic, because then we'll have less judgment of others and be more open to building trust and building those relationships and opening up to those relationships instead of shutting them off. My problem, though, Dell, is just that, is I open up on the front end, but to get to the deep end, I'm like very difficult to give that. I don't give that. It's hard for me to give that up.
You'll scratch the surface, but you won't get into the deeper parts.
Exactly. So I'm good with everyone on the surface level up here, but
right.
I only think it's an interesting topic, like that chart you made earlier. Like for some reason, I feel like I got 80-90% of the people on the surface, and then I might have a space for 10% down here.
Right. And again, with perception, it's that way. When you're looking at people that you want around you, you're going to make those perceptions off moral, off psychological, aesthetic qualities, insights that person has, and what you see in them, and what you're going to have it be applied in your life. So when you see somebody else out there and you have that perception, and like you said, you can have a lot of surface friends and acquaintances, but no one gets inside. Again, that is a conditioning of having false trust, because that trust that you've had in the past has been abused.
Totally.
So that, when you look at it psychologically and cognitively, plays a huge role down the line in relationships. When you start them, it can be conditioned from that experience that you're going to keep them kind of at hand's distance. Let them in just a little bit. And I used me as an example. And I don't know, maybe my ex-wives at some point will hear this, maybe not. But I'm going to get kind of deep.
You're funny, brother.
I'm going to get kind of deep here. my ex-wives, I really fucked them over. Because I'd had so much trust issues, sexual abuse as a kid, and picked on and bullied as a kid, and I had so many trust issues that I was going to let somebody in and get close to me just to have them cut me, right?
Yeah.
That with my wives, I would only get so much intimacy with them, and then eventually the intimacy would cut off, and I would start pushing them away because they were getting too close, and I was afraid of getting hurt. And I've lost wives over it. To the point where that intimacy is gone, and then I have to go outside the marriage to get any kind of intimacy, and I'm cheating.
Yeah, that's an issue.
Okay,
But
so
you see that, obviously.
and I see it, right? I see it now. I see it for what it is, and I apologize to them.
You're
And
probably not the only one.
I'm going to be making living amends the rest of my life for the destruction and the chaos I caused in their lives and in the relationships I've had. But those perceptions, even today, off of those experiences, to this day, still apply in my life. And when I go out there and I meet new people and am starting new relationships, I still struggle with, like you said, surface, just trying to keep them here. I don't want to let them get in here, because again, it comes down to that security. This is a security wall I have, and I don't want to let that person in. Those walls, for me, have got to fall. They've got to break down and get out of the way. Otherwise, I'm going to push away relationships that can have so much meaning in my life and give me so much joy and satisfaction in my life. So I'm with you out there, nation. I'm with you out there, people that are watching us right now. If you feel that way, I am completely with you. It's not easy to do. But if we're not challenging our perceptions of this stuff, if we're not looking at how we're looking at these situations, if we're letting the past decide for us how we're going to view the future, it's over.
100%.
It's over.
Especially if you let it control you from going anywhere in the future.
It's over. Yeah, you cannot let your past experiences decide for you what you're going to do in the future.
And limit you.
Because you'll be paralyzed.
100%.
You'll be stuck.
That's a great point, Del. That's a great way that you connected all that, is with the fact that how our perceptions and our, what was the topic? Our opinions and perceptions.
Fallible.
A lot of us never even, they stay the same for our, God, that's a great point. I never looked at it like that. They stay the same forever. People have the same perceptions and opinions from when they were in fucking fifth grade. I literally have met people that have the same opinions and same perceptions as their parents gave them when they were in fucking grade school or middle school, and they're like the same exact. They never got challenged, they never moved away, they never got a different perception, they never got a different perspective. They're out there just living this. God, it's like
that's just sad.
You know what I'm talking about? But that's such a great
I don't
point.
want to say it in a judgmental way, but I really do. People that are stuck in that way of life, like, I am grateful for the experiences I've had, and I've taken risks, and I've burnt a few bridges, and I've had to change my perceptions, because I pity the ones that sit there and are not able to experience that. Yeah, I might have fallen on my face.
Rihanna said she can relate to you.
Oh, I appreciate it, Rihanna. The thing is without me falling on my face and getting back up again, the struggle to get back up that hill and have victory over that would mean nothing. If everything was just handed to me and my perceptions just stayed the same all my life, I don't see me being someone that would be someone people would want to be around. That would be interesting. That would be someone that is actually playing a role in life, being a contributor to society and to the communities out here.
So here's the thing with me, is that I feel like my most valuable asset is just what you talked about, is my ability to connect to people on an intimate level. But here's the thing I'm trying to get at when I mentioned what I said, is like I have very few really deep, intimate people. I've loved a few women in my life. I loved my mom and I loved Indira. Shout out to Indira Benitez, you're amazing. But my mom, Lisa Marie King, I love to the moon and back. I would right now die for my mom to come back alive and give her life.
Oh, I'm sure, yes.
And then Indira Benitez, I love you to the moon and back. She was the most amazing woman I've ever been with. She was 5 stars, still is 5 star. I love Indira. She was the most amazing woman I've ever been with, and the most amazing partner. She was just amazing. I've never dated a woman that I've never had anything negative to say about. And Indira Benitez is the only one besides my mother. But outside of that powerful love, I've never been able to have a deep, intimate relationship with very many people, but I have, in a way, been able to do it with strangers. So here's what I'm trying to get at.
Yes.
Is after reading the Dalai Lama's book, which is all about being able to intimately connect with strangers and people so that you can feel like you're not alone, right? Because if we can connect to people, we don't feel like we're alone. So I've noticed through my travels, I've been beautifully able to do that because I'm able to open up to strangers intimately. So I'm able to open up and share my deep secrets with strangers. And that by doing that, we make an instant, special, powerful, intimate connection. It's called intimate because it's very vulnerable and it's very deep. Whether it's my mom dying or my drug addiction, I go deep on shit. And when I do that, I make instant, intimate connections. And when I do that, I don't feel alone. So next thing you know, I'm in Hawaii and I'm like, wow, after reading the Dalai Lama's book, I'm like, this makes fucking sense. I'm on the beach, I know nobody, but every day I'm making a new friend or two. And we're not going super, I'm going deep, but you know what I'm saying? It's not like they're my girlfriend or they're my lover. It's just someone I'm having a brief, intimate conversation with.
It's no different than AA.
Exactly.
When you tell your stories of where you came from and be able to relate with that other person who's telling the same exact story to you, and it's intimate about the mistakes that we've made, and some of those mistakes they're pretty bad.
And a lot of it, once you realize that, Del, if you do that with everyone, you can do that with anyone. I did it all over the world.
I mean, you don't have to, just because you're getting intimate doesn't mean you have to give up you don't have to trust that person completely 100%. But I'm right now, I'm bearing my soul when it comes to my past relationships and other things and sexually abused and everything like that over a live stream to thousands of people out there that can see it. Doesn't make me feel like I can't, that I'm giving up all my trust or that I have to worry about being hurt. I'm doing it so people out here that are watching us and listening to us can relate and see the authenticity of what we're trying to present and what we're trying to bring to the community and to our fans and to the people out here that we want to be a part of and create life with. Totally.
So I think it's powerful once you realize that, because that's why, once again, if you ever heard our episode, me and Del did our top 5 favorite book episode. One of them was The Art of Happiness by Dalai Lama. And it's essential to understand how important this is because, especially with technology now, you can now start being vulnerable. And what Del just did could reach thousands and thousands, if not at some point, millions of people. And you can never do that ever in the olden days from sitting in a room. AA is great in many ways, don't get me wrong, but imagine if someone took the same concept to the fucking podcast stations.
Oh, my Lord. I mean, I've listened to a lot of different podcasts out there.
But you see what I'm getting at. We've talked a lot about stuff like this. And it is what we're doing, kind of.
There's a lot of them out there that are not authentic. I mean, you can tell it's scripted, and it's just... I don't have a script. The only thing I have is this book here.
We're just
jotting down notes of things that pop up in our head as we go through the show. But this is literally just everything that's coming out of my mouth is everything that is coming out of my head in this moment, raw.
It's magical.
It's raw.
It's magic.
So that is what I'm looking for. That's what I want from people in my life. Is people that can be raw, can be authentic, and just be real. And that is such a missed thing that's not happening in our lives.
So true. People, authenticity.
They want to blow themselves up and tell lies and stories about stuff they really didn't do. They want to pop themselves up to make themselves look better. But the way I look at it is you can take a rotten egg and you can paint it on the outside and bejewel it and bedazzle it on the outside all you want. You can smack it and that egg is still rotten on the inside.
100%.
So you can look as pretty as you want to me from the outside and still be miserable. I don't want to be that. I want to be beautiful on the inside and let it come out and show on the outside.
I think that's beautiful, Del. I think it's really cool that nowadays people, it's so remarkable how many people that you just said they lack authenticity in there. I think there's a correlation between media and lacking of authenticity. So most people, if you look at their feed, they're not sharing something of intellectual value. Once again, this all comes back to doing good with the tools of technology. That me and Del talked about this in another episode. Doing good with the tools of technology. Doing positive. Instead of using them to try and be forceful and egotistical and selfish, use tools to help build up each other and push ourselves forward and unite. And one of the things people do, they just want to use it to shine on themselves, and like driving in their five-star Camaro, driving in their whatever, they're in a Tesla or they're in Hawaii. Like, they're not showing the pictures of them homeless on the streets in Hawaii, or they're not showing the pictures of, like, there's people out here hustling and struggling, and then these people want to sit here and glorify a fucking 5-star Lambo. I don't know, I totally can't stand that stuff. So I agree with you.
Well, if you're getting your complete enjoyment out of life or your identity because you have a Lambo or $1 million home or whatever it is, a trophy wife, or, you know, whatever it is, if you're living your life to that's what makes you or defines you of how important or how much success you've had, you're a shallow person. I'm just going to say it. I mean, I don't need that. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't like to have a Lambo.
No, I agree with you. What you're talking about is someone that's looking for extrinsic factors to bring them intrinsic happiness.
Exactly.
So,
I don't need that in my life. I am okay with just having what I have and living life that way.
So I agree 100%. So for me, I found that out at a young age. I was content and happy with very little. As long as I had control of my time, it made me feel like I was accountable, responsible, and empowered, because I had control of my who, my what, my when, and my why. I could do the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why of my life on a daily basis because I had control of the time. And that required me not being controlled by extrinsic factors, objects and items, or people's opinions, places, or things, or items around me that I think bring me happiness or make me look good, in turn make me happy because I look good to them outside. I've never once, like, I care somewhat about what people think, but I've never once put all my intrinsic happiness on the extrinsic factors. So I think it's an interesting topic and point in the correlation between authenticity and having authenticity and not having to depend on extrinsic factors, items or objects or people or places or things to bring you that intrinsic happiness that then leads to authenticity. I think authenticity comes from being content with very little and then opening up and being vulnerable and authentic from that, and then by doing that you then develop relationships.
Correct.
And happiness and contentment and so forth. I just am so happy with very little. I wish I could give it to other people. I wish I could.
Yeah, and that's just that's the problem, is you can't inject it into other people. You can't have someone be like, I can't go to someone and say, this is how I've done it, so just do it the way I do it and you'll have happiness. It doesn't work that way. You cannot put someone in a mold that you've done and think that they're going to come out the same way. It just doesn't work that way. You have to find what is going to work for you. So when I do that and I see people that are happy and that I want their happiness, I look at things that I can do for me that I can enjoy, and then I improvise. I'm creative. I find ways to also add to that. That's going to do it. But by doing that, by taking the time to look at it, I'm exploring who I am.
Exploring.
I'm exploring my perceptions.
That's a beautiful thing.
My opinion. I'm exploring my world. And that's, I mean, for me, I have to. I need to have that in my life. I need to explore. I need to look at life not as, what's the use? Nothing's going to change. Life is going to continue to stay the same.
Dude, Del, you're touching on such great points.
Why even do it? The whole Eeyore effect of, oh, look at me, poor Del, he's got to get up and go to work again tomorrow.
But Del, I think what you're talking about is so big. Challenging and adventuring, guess what that does, Del? It does this.
Yes.
When we challenge and adventure ourselves and get out and we put ourselves in different arenas of life, in different arenas of experiences. So picture every arena, every experience in life you could ever have. And that everyone has an arena. picture if you could place everyone in that. That's exactly what you're talking about. Changing my arena and going out and venturing leads to the challenge of my perceptions and opinions, and it audits the fallible ones. Because if I'm experiencing all those different arenas of life and all these different instances and all these highs and all these lows, now I'm going to have a more well-rounded perception and opinion of life, and in general have a better deduction of life. So it's going to force me to then not believe in the fallible opinions and perceptions.
Right.
So I think that's a really big point, is the adventure and exploration. That's a really great point.
Well, let me ask you out there, people. Are you uncomfortable today, or are you comfortable? If you feel like you're uncomfortable with your life and where you're at in your life, then it's time to change. You don't make change when you're comfortable. You don't change a job, a relationship, whatever it is, when you're comfortable in that situation.
It just doesn't happen.
No, you do it when you're uncomfortable. So if you feel uncomfortable about certain things in your life that just doesn't meet up to what you're wanting it to be, it's time to change.
Yeah,
it's time to find something that is going to bring more joy and allow you to be more comfortable with who you are and what you're giving back into the world and to yourself.
That's such a great point, Del, because what you're talking about is being stuck and stagnant. It's so big, it's not even funny. I love this shit. I could talk about it all day, but he's talking about comfort zones. And in our comfort zone, that's when you're stuck and stagnant. And me and Del have direct understanding of this because we're in addicts. And once you're an addict, you start to understand these things. And I understood this when I was younger because of it, is when I feel stuck and there's no hope. There's a correlation between no hope and feeling stuck and stagnant. When you feel like there's no hope, you feel like there's no reason to keep going because you're not going anywhere. You're stuck in one place. You're stagnant. And when I'm stuck and stagnant, I'm not growing and progressing. And growing and progressing as humans and as a species, where we are naturally, we're naturally supposed to be evolving and growing and progressing. That's what we're, as an organism, that's what we're supposed to do.
I don't see why we don't. I mean, even the amoeba knows that.
It's just reality. So if we just start so picture that. It makes sense. Take an organism that is supposed to struggle, strife, be conditioned, and be going through fitness and trials and tribulations and growing and improving and feeling like I got better. And then they just put them in an environment where they have no failures, no scratches, no bruises, no scuffs, and nothing. And it's all just a controlled, false environment.
You want me to give you an example?
America.
You're off the that.
I'm just kidding.
Talking about organisms and nature in general, look at the birds that are hatched out of eggs. They are told, like people that watch them, do not help them get out of the egg. That the struggle of them fighting their way out of those eggs is what causes them to have life. That struggle is what puts them on the path to success, to be able to live through that struggle. They're not just being helped out to sit there. By doing that, they're exerting their muscles, they're exerting and moving their body out of that egg, out of that shell, to give them strength to be able to walk, to be able to go out and grow. So the struggles I have today are not struggles that I'm going to look at anymore as, yep, this is putting me in the grave. That's the biggest concept that's changed with me, is my struggles are not going to bury me. That's the way I've thought for years. They're going to bury me, so I might as well drink and bury myself. No, they're not going to bury me. They're going to allow me to grow and become stronger. And I'm going to find a way to plow through that and get something victorious out of it. You're not going to stop me anymore.
Yeah, it's beautiful once you realize that. And
it's an awakening.
It is an awakening. And once you realize that an addiction, for me, it's my biggest asset. It's interesting once you look at that because it's your biggest tool, but it also can be your biggest threat. It's really interesting once you realize that our biggest assets are a lot of times our biggest threats. But I think that's really cool. I think it's really interesting how in such a short period of time of having a podcast and having all these different people on the show, how it pushes us to ultimately challenge our perceptions and challenge our opinions. And I can't tell you enough. I mean, we could sit here and I could actually do an episode on it of all the different things now since we started the show and we started having dialogue that I've started to then evolve and improve my either perception or audit and just improve. Like having different people, I've had like multiple people on and having all of them on and having us have these consistent conversations. It's impossible to measure the amount that it's improved my perceptions and it's improved my opinions because now they've all been tested and audited, and now I've improved them. So now I have a little bit more of an understanding that's a little bit more or less fallible. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'm going to leave it on this for me.
And we'll wrap it up.
And we'll wrap it up here. 2 words. And again, I'm going back to the AA program, but there's 2 words in that big old book of theirs. It's called psychic change.
That is just it, brother.
I need to have a thorough 100% psychic change to be able to move forward in my life and do what I need to do. When people ask you, what do you need to change? I need to change everything. Because obviously the way I've been living life up to this point, it's not been good. It's not been right. It's not worked for me. So if it's not working, why do we continually do it? Let's change. Let's find a different route. Let's find a different solution. Let's stop living in that problem. Let's have a psychic change and find that solution and move forward.
I think that's a great point to finish with, Del, and I think we're going to wrap it up. And ultimately, I think Del's right. Albert Einstein, another one of his favorite quotes is, we can't solve our problems from the same level with which we created them.
Oh,
which is
so
exactly
good.
what you just said, Del. Psychic change. We cannot solve our problems from which the same level we created them.
Well, thank you for putting me in that kind of caliber. That was wonderful.
Because ultimately, Del just hit it on the head.
He's a god to me. I just don't say God very much.
In order to elevate our thinking, our communication, our collaboration, and our unity in our community, we have to elevate the level at which we cooperate, communicate, and create. Because then we'll start operating, communicating, and creating at a higher level. But we can't do that unless we start communicating and changing the way in which we communicate our pains, communicate our sufferings, and communicate our truth and our realities so that other people can then start to understand and we can start to bridge that gap. Because ultimately, as humans, we won't start coming together unless we understand each other. And in order to understand one another, we have to share our truths and share our realities in a powerful, authentic fashion. By doing that, opening up and connecting to others, we then can come together. And we're seeing that here at Weirman Media, and we're going to continue to lean into that because, once again, it's not right, it's not wrong, it's our perspective.
Peace from the recovery atheist.
Deuces. Great episode. 47 minutes.